بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا. اللهم زدنا علما إنك أنت عليم حكيم. اللهم اجعل هذه المحاضرة حجة لنا لا حجة علينا يا رب العالمين. أما بعد. Today's class, inshallah ta'ala, we're starting the bab Kitab al-Nikah, or the book Kitab al-Nikah. This is a topic that it comes up often. There are many issues that we deal with in our communities, specifically to this particular chapter. There are a lot of things that perhaps is misunderstood, or perhaps people may have known but forgot about, or perhaps it's a reminder or something new altogether. So we'll be coming from the book Zaad Al-Mustaqni. Zaad Al-Mustaqni. Imam Musa Al-Hajjawi is the author of Zaad Al-Mustaqni. And this book has many different books. Studying fiqh, inside of the books of fiqh, there are many books inside of the books of fiqh. So here we're starting a book called Kitab al-Nikah, the book of marriage. Some of the ulama, they say that why, a question I might ask, why is it different books inside of a book? Why wouldn't it just be different chapters? Why wouldn't it just be the chapter of marriage, or the chapter of this, or the chapter of that? But why is it different books? So some of the ulama, they mention that as different books because they're different subject matter. وَلَا يَتَعَلَّقْ بِمَا سَبَقَ or بِمَا سَبَقَ, meaning what's in that book is completely different than what came before it. And what's in another book may be completely different than what comes before it. And in addition to that, in each chapter or each book, there are qawa'id and dawabit specifically for that bab or that book. For example, in some books, there are principles that are specific to that particular subject matter. Is that clear? And then we have something called al-qawa'id al-kulliyya. We also have general principles that are applicable across the board. And then we have other principles that are specific to a particular book or subject matter. So having said that, we're going to start with Kitab al-Nikah. Any questions before we get started? Abu Musa Hajjawi. Kitab al-Nikah. The first thing that the scholars of Al-Islam, before they start a particular subject, they always want to give the definition of that thing. Nikah, from the word nakaha. There are two different meanings for the word nakaha. Does anyone know what the word means? Nakaha. There's a linguistic meaning, and then there's a legislative meaning. The linguistic meaning, it has two meanings. The first meaning, it means aqd, meaning a contract. The first meaning, linguistically, it means a contract between parties. Nakaha. Another meaning, in the word contract, this is what is used mostly, meaning with that particular meaning, you can find this most of the time is mentioned that way in the Quran, with the meaning aqd. The next meaning is al-wat'u. Al-wat'u, it means intercourse. Intercourse. So then the word nakaha, it carries two meanings. One linguistic. The linguistic meaning means aqd or contract. And the other meaning is that it means to have intercourse. طيب. Some of the ulama, they mention this is a rub' al-thalith from Islam. So the first part of Islam, when we study the books of fiqh, we have fiqh al-ibadat. Right? Fiqh al-ibadat, worship. And then after that, we have fiqh al-mu'amalat, which consists of buying, selling, transactions, etc. And then after that, they say this is a rub' al-thalith, meaning this is the third, fourth, which is nikah. This is a very long bab, long book, if you will. There are going to be some things in this book that we will not cover for obvious reasons. Some of the reasons could be that the issue itself is not applicable in our time or where we live. Another issue could be that particular issue is very sensitive, and it's an issue that if needed to be discussed, it will probably be discussed in a private setting. But having said that, there are many issues in the book of marriage, divorce, etc. that need to be cleared up. So we go back to the meaning al-wat'u and al-aqd, meaning there's a contract or it means intercourse. Shar'an, or the legislative meaning of the word. So we have a linguistic meaning, and then we have a legislative meaning. The linguistic meaning, we said there are two parts: a contract or having intercourse. A contract or intercourse. This is the two meanings linguistically, right? Now we're going to mention the legislative meaning of the term nikah. The legislative meaning means the meaning that is recognized by the Sharia. Al-aqd yu'tabaru fihi lafz inkah aw tazweej fil jumla. So they say it's a contract, but the contract itself, it has to use the term inkah or tazweej. And we'll talk about that later in more detail, inshallah. وَالْمَعْقُودُ عَلَيْهِ مَنْفَعَةُ الْإِسْتِمْتَاعِ. And the thing that the contract is for is so that having intercourse between a man and a woman becomes allowable. Otherwise, people would fornicate. So Islam has made, in order for a male's private parts to be halal for a woman's private parts, essentially there has to be a contract of marriage. Anything outside of that is zina. Anything outside of that is fornication. Right. Now, the next thing we're going to discuss is what is the rulings on getting married. Does anyone know? What's the ruling on getting married? It's a lot of brothers here. Nobody knows? Huh? It's haram to get married? Hey, what's the ruling?
When getting married, once a person reaches the age of puberty.
You're talking about in general. What's the ruling on getting married? Nobody here is married.
It's allowed. Are you looking for a suitable wife?
So we got 5 rulings in Islam. Halal, or rather, what do we say? Wajib, sunnah, mubah, makruh, or muharram. What's the ruling on getting married? He says wajib. طيب. And the asl, the origin. What's the origin on getting married? What's the ruling on getting married? Ahsant. It's recommended. Getting married, the origin is that getting married is sunnah. It's recommended. However, many of the fuqaha, they say that getting married includes all 5. Can anyone mention a condition when it would be haram for a person to get married?
The person's already married.
When the person's already married.
Yeah, what up?
Okay. If the woman's already, I'm talking about for a man. When is it haram for a man to get married?
If he has 4 wives already.
I sent. If he has 4 wives already. Huh? And then the other, when will it be hated for a person to get married?
He doesn't have the means to. But
He said if he doesn't have the means to provide. Huh? It may not be hated. Because if a person doesn't have the means, we have narrations from the Sunnah of our Prophet ﷺ, where some of the men did not have the means to get married, but they still got married, right? But they say that it is makruh, hated, for a man to get married if he is poor and doesn't have desire for women. In this case, it's hated for that person to get married. Does that make sense? He's poor and he doesn't have a desire for women. Not that he has desire for men, but he just doesn't have a desire for marriage when he gets married anyway. So you're looking like, well, why would he get married? Right? Allah. This is what the fuqaha mentioned. So he says, Imam Hajjawi, he says, وَهُوَ سُنَّةٌ فِعْلَهُ مَا شَهْوَةٍ أَفْضَلُ مِنْ نَوَافِلِ الْعِبَادَاتِ. So Imam Abi Musa al-Hajjawi, rahimahullah, he says it is sunnah, and to do it with, if a person has desires to do it, this is better for him than any nawafil ibadah, any type of supererogatory form of worship. Rather, getting married is better than that. And then he mentions وَيَجِبُ عَلَى مَنْ يَخَافُ الزِّنَا بِتَرْكِهِ. It becomes wajib for the one who has desires and they fear that if they don't get married, they will fall into zina. In this case, it is obligatory for this person to get married. It is obligatory for this person to get married. So now we're going to mention the characteristics, if you will, or some of the things according to the school of Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal, what a person should look for when getting married. So the first thing, it says, وَيُسَنُّ نِكَاحُ وَاحِدَةً. According to the school of Imam Ahmed bin Hanbal rahimahullah ta'ala, he says that it is sunnah that a man only marries one wife. It is sunnah, according to Imam Ahmed, it is sunnah that a man only marries one wife. A person says, well, how is that? He says, لِأَنَّ زِيَادَةَ عَلَيْهِ تَعْلِيلِ الْمُحَرَّمِ. This is because, now listen to the illah, or the reason. I'm not trying to mess you up, man. He said the reason, they say that the reason is because ta'reed lil muharram, meaning your chances of falling into something haram is greater. Having more than one wife, your chances of falling into something haram is greater. This is according to Imam Ahmed in this position here, right? How? By way of not being just, by way of not being able to be equal with your time, etc., etc. You open yourself up to things that could potentially cause you harm. And then they mention the ayah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where Allah says, وَلَن تَسْتَطِيعُوا أَن تَعْدِلُوا بَيْنَ النِّسَاءِ. Allah says you will not be able to be just between the women. And this is a position of Imam. Now this is not the only position that they have, but however in Zaad Al-Mustaqni, this is the one that they mention. The next issue, they say that she should be dayyina, meaning a person of deen. And this is due to the hadith of Abi Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu marfu'an, تنكح المرأة لأربع لمالها ولحسبها ولجمالها ولدينها فاظفر بذات الدين وتربت يداك. And Nabi alayhi salatu wassalam, he said an authentic hadith, muttafiqun alayh, He said, "Tunkahul mar'atu li arba," that a woman is married for 4 reasons. Limaliha, due to her wealth. Wali hasbiha, due to her lineage. Wali jamaliha, due to her beauty, or for her religion. The diniha. And he said, "Fadfur bidhat deen wa taribat yadak." He said, pick the one with the religion, and wa taribat yadak, meaning throw your hands up, like forget about it. Pick the one with the religion and forget about it. The next one, so they mentioned in Zaad Al-Mustaqni 6 characteristics. Obviously, this is not written in stone, right? It's not written in stone, and we'll expound on some of them. The next one is ajnabiyatan. Ajnabiyya. Does anyone know what that means? She should be foreign to him. What does that mean, foreign? And this is going to open up another issue that many of us here in the West are not really familiar with. What do you mean? Like, so one of the things that the woman should be a foreign woman to him. What does that mean? Huh?
Not related.
Not known?
Not known sexually.
La.
Not related to him.
Not related to him. The woman should not be related to him. So a person might ask, what do you mean not related? Who's going to marry someone that's related to them? Huh? And we're going to cover that in the next chapter, or the next chapter. But here, essentially, it is permissible in Islam for a man to marry his cousin. It is permissible in Islam for a man to marry his cousin. However, in our society, this act is frowned upon in our society. It doesn't mean that it's haram. It's just something that in our society that is not practiced. In our society, it's something that is not practiced. But in other societies like Saudi Arabia, for example, other Muslim countries, I'm not just going to mention Saudi Arabia, other Muslim countries, this is prevalent. It's something that's known, and it's something that society understands and accepts. In our society, it's something that is not known, and it's something that is strange and looked down upon. So they say that the woman, now they say it's sunnah, meaning that she should be ajnabiyya, meaning she should not be a family member to him. And they say, why? He said, because if it's not a family member, then the chances of that child being more intelligent is there. The next one is that la ya'min al-talaq, that if you marry a family member, that marriage is not safe from having a divorce. And if there was a divorce, then this will cause a cutting off family members, the sister side of the family, and then the husband side, and they're all family. It could be a reason to cause the whole family to split. Does that make sense? Right. The next one, bikrin, that the woman that he marries, she should be a virgin. A virgin in that she has never been married before, never had intercourse ever. And this is due to the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he said, فَهَلَّا بِكْرًا تُلَاعِبُهَا وَتُلَاعِبُكَ. He said, why wouldn't you marry a virgin that she could play with you and you will play with her? And this hadith was reported by Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. The next thing, walud. The next thing is walud. This is the 5th issue, walud. Nisa yu'rifna bi kathrati awlad. That you marry a woman that can have an abundance of children. You marry a woman that can have an abundance of children. As the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, تَزَوُّجُ الْوَلُودِ الْوَلُودِ فَإِنِّي مُكَاثِرُ بِكُمْ الْأُمَمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. And Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, marry the woman that is loving and can have more children, or have many children. He says, for indeed I will be proud of my ummah, mukathiru bikum on yawm al-qiyamah, that there will be a lot of you on the day of judgment. The next one, so this is the 6th one. The 6th one that is mentioned here is bila You should marry a woman that, now mind you, this is the opinion of Imam Ahmed here. However, for every position that you find, there may be also another position that counters that, and each position have their reason for mentioning it. Just like the one where it says, when it's sunnah, they consider sunnah to marry one wife, but then there are other reports saying marry more than one wife. And so here, the last one, it says, bila It says to marry a woman that doesn't have her mother around her. But what's the wisdom behind even mentioning that? So some of the ulama, they mentioned that even after researching this issue, they said they could not find the asl. They could not find the origin for that statement. But having said that, some of them say it could be because, as we know in our times, a person could marry a woman and her mother's in her ear, and her mother could be a cause for corrupting the marriage. A mother could be a cause for corrupting her daughter's marriage. But then some of the ulama say rather, the mother could also be a cause for rectifying their marriage. She could also be a cause for rectifying her daughter's marriage. So it depends. Like I said, a lot of these are not black and white. These are just some of the positions that were mentioned on that issue. Any questions about that? Now mind you, all of this is just introductory. There's a whole lot to cover, and a lot of things will go into detail as we move forward, inshallah ta'ala. The next part here, ahkam an-nadar, the rulings on looking at a woman. The rulings on looking at a woman. وَلَهُ نَظْرُ مَا يَظْهَرُ غَالِبًا مِرَارًا بِلَا خَلْوَةٍ. If a man is interested in marrying a woman, what can he see from her?
Beauty.
You can see beauty from her. Huh? It depends.
Face, hands, feet, hair.
Face, hands, feet, head. Anyone else? How many brothers in here is married?
What's normally seen from
Oh, how many brothers in here are married? Don't put your hand down. Raise your hand up. Because I'm going to call you. Don't. I'm trying to put his hand down. Come on, man. Like, the brothers that are married. First, how many people here are not married? All right, so I'm not going to ask y'all. I'm going to ask the ones that are married. What's permissible to see from a woman that you're interested in marrying? And don't give me a shad statement that you heard 100 years ago. Huh? You can mention it though.
what's normally seen from a woman.
What's normally seen from a woman? All right. What's normally seen from a woman to who? Huh? Her family. Like. What's normally seen from a woman? Like what? Her face. Her face and her hands. Face, hands, hair.
Face, hands, hair, the shape of her body.
That's normally seen.
Yes, in this society, yes.
We're not talking about in this society.
I'm not talking about like her like in tights and nothing like that, but I'm just talking about her normal stuff.
I mean, I've heard stories though, right? Brothers get married, they tell the sister to wear a bodysuit at the sit down. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. It's out of pocket. It's out of pocket. And then some women, they don't know. They think, well, if they don't wear this, then it's something that's haram or something. They gotta do it. Some women. Huh? So what's permissible to see? Right. So the ulama, they mention kawaj, her face, her neck, her hand, wa qadam. Her face, obviously the face includes the head, right? Her raqaba, neck, yad, her hands. And this is due to the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he said, إِذَا خَطَبَ أَحَدُكُمَ امْرَأَةً فَقَدْرَ أَنْ يَرَى مِنْهَا بَعْدَ مَا يَدْعُو إِلَى نِكَاحِهَا فَلْيَفْعَلْ. النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام, he said in an authentic hadith, إِذَا خَطَبَ أَحَدُكُمْ. If either of you, meaning the men here, if you're looking to get married, if you're looking to get married to a woman, فَقَدْرَ أَنْ يَرَى مِنْهَا بَعْضًا. Look to the things that will entice you to marry her. Some of what will entice you to marry her. Some of what will entice you to marry her. Ba'd, some. Right. And then he says, once you see enough of her, that which is sufficient for you to marry her, فَلْيَفْعَلْ, then marry her. Right. They mentioned two other points here. Yes.
So where the four?
The hand, the face, the neck, the feet.
The hair.
And as some of the ulama mentioned, whatever can be seen by her family members, meaning the male family members or the female family, obviously the male family members, whatever she can show around her muharram. Whatever she can show around her muharram. Here's another issue. Some people believe that if a sister's in a sit-down that she can't show her hair in a sit-down. Actually, she can.
That's part of the face then.
Yeah, but in reality, and here's the thing, a woman can show what she feels comfortable showing. Right? She's not forced to. She can't say, well, I want to see all your hair. I want to see this. If she's like, no, I don't feel comfortable doing that, then that's her right. Can't force her to show. Yes.
Within those four, though, right?
Yeah.
And also, in showing this, isn't it like, like if you get close to looking like you get ready to marry? Or should it be very
So the
first-
hadith says, either khataba, meaning if you are intended on marrying a person, then these are the things that you're able to look at. We didn't even finish. Right? Now, some of the ulama, they mention, when can a man look at a woman for marriage? They say, in these cases, a man can look at a woman for marriage if he believes that she'll accept. Meaning, if you see a sister that you like her, but you know she's not interested in you, you cannot keep staring at her. Just be honest. You need to hear it again. If there's a sister that's not married, but you know that she's not interested in you, you can't keep staring at her. Why you laughing?
How about on the other side of that?
Vice versa. Yeah, but right now we're talking about from the aspect of the men. And it says, Bila khalwa. If you think that this woman will accept you, then you could look at her as often as you like. Bila khalwa. As long as you're not alone in private with her. As long as you're not alone in private with her. The next issue. The next issue is how much time we got? The next issue, I probably need you guys to write some of this down so you don't get confused. It says, right now we're getting ready to talk about khitbah nisa. Khitbah, in other words, who you can approach for marriage and who you can't. Or shall I say, a woman that is mu'tadda. So we have three types of women in general. We have a woman that is married, which is haram for a man to approach that woman ta'ridan or tasrihan. Tasrihan, it means that a man cannot come to this woman and say, and she's married and says, yes, I want to marry you. And he also cannot give that woman an indication that he wants to marry her while she's married. This is haram. The next type of woman, we have a woman that is not married. Then it is permissible for a man to say, I'm interested in marrying you, or to give innuendos or insinuate that he wants to marry her. That's the second type. The third type of woman, this woman is called a mu'tadda. A mu'tadda. This woman is in a state of iddah. How many people know what iddah is? What is iddah?
She's about to get a divorce.
What's idda? What is it? It is an Arabic word.
It's the waiting period that a woman has before her divorce is being final.
Right. The waiting period, if you will, right? All right. So let's talk about that. The waiting period that a woman has to wait for in order for her to get remarried. So a woman that is mu'tadda, they're broken down into 3 categories. A woman that is mu'tadda, they break down into 3 categories. Number 1, al-mu'tadda, that's raj'iyya. Now, the issue, what are we talking about here? We're talking about a man wanting to approach a woman for marriage. You can either A, say, yes, I want to marry you, or B, give it to make innuendos, or give her an impression that you may want to marry. So it's 1 or 2 ways. Either you say it sarih, clearly, yes, I want to marry you, or you make innuendos. You give her an indication that you may want to marry her. All right? These are the 2 issues that we're discussing. If a woman is talaq raj'iyya, what is raj'iyya? Does anyone know what that means? What is raj'iyya? What is talaq raj'iyya? Is this term new? Is it a new term? Like, if a man divorces a woman once or twice, if a man divorces a woman once or twice, this is called a talaq raj'iyya. This is a divorce that is called raj'iyya, which means that he can take her back. If he divorces her the first time, he can take her back. This is called a ruju' raj'iyya. If he divorces her the second time, he can take her back. This is called a raj'iyya. If he divorces her 3 times, he cannot what? He cannot take her back. Okay, so now we're going to talk about, if, let's say for example, a brother, he's married to a sister, and he divorces her. The first time he divorced her. You understand the scenario? A brother, he divorced his wife. This is the first time he divorced her. Fine. Now she's divorced. She's going through her idda period. Brother Fulan hears that sister such and such just got a divorce. He's hyped. He's hyped. Because he wanted her from before, but now he thinks this is his opportunity. Right? It's rules of engagement. It's haram for Brother Fulan to go to the sister and say, I heard you got a divorce. I want to get married to you. It's haram. He can't do that. Why? Because technically she's still married to who? The first husband. This is called talaq raj'iyya. Not only can he not say, yes, I want to marry you, but he also cannot make innuendos that he would marry her, etc. He can't do that either. Why? Because it's called talaq raj'iyya, which means that she technically is still married to her first husband, meaning her husband, the one who divorced her. So much so that if the husband passes away while she's in this iddah, she will still inherit from him. Is that clear? If a man divorces a woman, the first or second divorce, and he passes away, then she still gets inheritance from him. So how can it be that a woman gets inheritance from one man and able to marry another one? Is that clear? So then, we're talking about women that are mu'tadda, right? When can you approach them? When can you not approach them? Etc. So the first type is a woman that is raj'iyya. Raj'iyya means that she was divorced once or twice, and an outside man cannot come to her and say to her, I want to marry you, or someone would like to marry you. He cannot give her any indication that he will want to. Rather, he can't say anything to her. It's almost as if she is married. It's as if this woman is still married. That's number one. Any questions about that? But
I don't really get why you're like it's still married.
we'll explain it, inshallah. In Islam, a man can divorce a woman how many times? But Allah says, "At-talaqu marratan." Allah says in the Quran, "At-talaqu marratan." Allah says divorce is twice. This divorce is twice in the Quran is talking about the raja'iyya, meaning he can take her back. Once that person gets to the third divorce, he cannot what? Take her back. The only way he could take her back is if what? She marries someone else and then they get a divorce. Right. So ba'in, the next group here, is a woman that is still in her iddah, but it is considered ba'in. The term ba'in here, this is a woman that has been divorced 3 times, or a woman whose husband gave her a khul'ah. This is a different category of woman here. What category is this?
Second category.
I know it's the second, but what's the details? Huh? She had a khul'ah or she was divorced 3 times. So the first one was a woman was only divorced how many times? Twice. The second category is how many times? 3 times. Or she got a what? She got a khul'ah. Can a man come to this woman and say, I want to marry you, while she's in her iddah? La, he cannot. But what can he do? Nah. What he can do in this case is give an innuendo. Or he can say, for example, even mentioned it here, it says, Inni fi mithliki la ragibun. In Arabic they say, someone like you, any man would want to marry. That's an indicator that you would be interested in her once her iddah is over. It sounds cheesy. I mean, listen, it's not my line.
So
I sure I could marry a sister like you.
this type of woman is still granted that did that even though she divorced 3 times or her husband gave her the call.
Good question. Brother said, if a woman is divorced 3 times, does she still have the iddah? Yes, she still has the iddah.
Or her husband gave her the call.
A woman that has a khul'ah also has an iddah. Okay? Now, the iddah, whereas ba'in, in this case, it's not permissible for him to say to her, yes, I want to marry you, but he can make some ta'ri, make some type of innuendos. I don't know how you do it. Come up with something. That's the second case. The third category is a woman that is raja'iyya and ba'in. She's both. Right? Who can approach this woman that is ba'in and say, yes, they want to marry her? Can anybody do that? Ba'in, meaning, a woman that's in raja'iyya. We're going to go raja'iyya first. We're going to go back to the first case, right? If a woman is divorced once or twice, and she's in her iddah period, is it who can come and approach her and say, yes, I want to marry you back, or make an innuendo that he wants to? Who can do that? He says no one. The one who put her in iddah can do that. No, he can do it. The one who placed her in iddah can take her back. Now, if she's raja'iyya, this is something else that needs to be understood. If she's raja'iyya, and her husband divorced her, she's happy, like, yes, he finally divorced me. And then he's like, you know what? I changed my mind, I want you back. She can't be like, no, you divorced me, I'm good. She can't say that. She can't say that. In fact, the raj'iyya, taking the wife back, doesn't require her approval in that case. So if she wanted out of that situation, then there are other ways, but we're not talking about that today. Right now, we're just talking about raj'iyya and tayyib. The next case, if a woman is ba'in, mu'tadda ba'in, meaning that her husband divorced her 3 times. Is there anyone, can anyone come to her and say, yes, I want to marry you?
Not at all.
No, not at all. All right? That person has to make innuendos. The third case here, if the person has a khul'ah, if the man puts her in, or she requests a khul'ah, and a khul'ah bil-iwad means that whatever he gave her for dowry, she gave back to him, and she want her way, and he want his way. Right? She's in her iddah period. Is there anyone that can approach her for marriage then, while she's in her iddah period? Yes, one person. Who is that person? The one who gave her a khul'ah. He can come to her during that time and request to marry her again. At this point in time, it's up to her. She's like, no, I'm cool. I'm good. Or she can come back to the table and say, okay, in this case, there have to be a new dowry, a new mahar, everything has to be new again. Well, there? Is that clear? Tayyib. Tayyib. The next issue, and the last issue we want to discuss today, inshallah, is when a man approaches a woman for marriage. This is called a khidbah, right? A person wants to marry a sister and he approaches her for marriage. Let's say, for example, this is filthy, it happens. It's a sister, a brother approaches her for marriage, and another brother, he wants her too, so he says, man, I don't care, I'm gonna say something to her anyway. Is that permissible? La, it's haram, right? It's haram. So it says, فَإِنْ أَجَابَ وَلِيُّ مُجْبَرَةً أو أَجَابَتْ غَيْرُ مُجْبَرَةً لِمُسْلِمٍ حَرُمَ عَلَى غَيْرِهِ خِطْبَتُهَا. And here they make a distinction between a woman that is a virgin and a woman that is not a virgin. And we're not going to get into those details, but we're going to talk about the issue of approaching a woman for marriage if someone else already approached her for marriage. When is it permissible for the second brother to say something to her?
When he finishes his business.
When he finishes his business. So let me ask you this. There's a sister, 2 brothers are interested in marrying her. One brother approaches her, and the other brother is like, damn, I wonder what happened. When can that of the second brother approach that sister?
Never.
Is she accepts it or is she rejects it?
So what does that look like?
How do you know? She denies it.
But how do the other brother know?
Hopefully he goes to the wali, inshallah.
She says no.
Good. So in this case, the ulama, they mentioned 3 scenarios in which a person approaches a woman for marriage, and there's multiple men that may be interested in this one person. When would the other party be able to approach this particular person? It says, وَإِن رُدَّ. The first one is she rejects the first offer from the first guy. She says, the first brother. She says, no, I'm not interested. Right? Or the second case is if a man approached her and he's still waiting on a response, and then another brother wants to approach her, he can give that brother permission. Meaning the first khatib, the first brother that approaches her, he can look, well, go ahead. I mean, if she wants you, go ahead. Right? That's permissible. With the permission of that brother. Right? And then the third one, in juhilat, if the other brother had no idea that another brother approached her for marriage, in this case, obviously, there's no problem with that. طيب ويسن العقد يوم الجمعة مساء. And they say that it is sunnah, when people get married, it's sunnah to get married on Yawmul Jum'ah in the evening, Masa'an. And it is also sunnah to perform the khutbah to Ibn Mas'ud. Does anyone know what the khutbah Ibn Mas'ud is?
No.
Alright. And why do they say nisa'an? Why do they say masa'an in the evening? They say لِأَنَّ فِيهِ سَعْةَ الْإِجَابَةِ. We all know on Yawm al-Jum'ah, there's a time after the khutbah. All the way up until Maghrib, or before Maghrib, there's a time in which if anyone makes dua, that dua is answered. So they say that it's best to get married during that time in hopes that the dua will be answered when that couple gets married. Wa yusannu bil masjid, and it's also sunnah to have it done in the masjid. And this is according to Ibn al-Qayyim, as he mentions in his book I'lam al-Muwatta'in. And he mentions that it's also sunnah to recite the khutbah to Ibn Mas'ud. The khutbah Ibn Mas'ud, as everyone is familiar with, and starts off in Alhamdulillah, Nahmadahu wa Nasta'inu, to the end of it. It's not a condition that when people get married, the khutbah Ibn Mas'ud is mentioned. It's not a condition for the marriage to be valid. In fact, when I was in Saudi, I would sit in some of the courtrooms where some of the judges would perform the marriage. And initially, I thought it was obligatory until one day I was in the courtroom with a judge and he married a couple. And when he left, I said, Sheikh, you didn't even, he said, it's not obligatory. And at that time, I was like, man, I don't know where you got that from. And then I went back and started reading. I was like, okay. And then you find that Imam Ahmed, he would leave from a marital sitting if they didn't pronounce the khutbah tahajjud, meaning the khutbah Ibn Mas'ud. If they didn't do it, he would get up and leave from that marriage sitting, being a witness or being there during that time. At any event, we're going to stop the first class right now, inshallah. Any questions about this?
I still don't get why they're basically still married and they're divorced.
The sisters got questions?
Yeah, wait.
So,
I got one question somebody asked.
you can write it down or something.
Hey,
What's the ruling on a woman who was married already but didn't get a divorce yet? But married under
Listen, make sure the questions are sticking to today's class because there could be a question about this that we might cover later.
Here's a question. Sister was married but didn't get a divorce yet, but married under Islamic law to somebody else.
A sister was married but didn't get a divorce yet? What does that mean?
Apparently she wasn't divorced yet, but married somebody else.
Marriage in was the first marriage Islamically or?
yeah, it's that's what it's saying.
Sheikh, you said if a sister got married,
The question was, what about the woman that was still married to her first husband, but got married under Islamic law to somebody else?
is she saying that she was legally married by the state to one man and then also Islamically married to that man, and then they got a divorce Islamically, and then she remarried someone else Islamically while still being married to that first person by the state? Is that the question? Because I'm adding stuff in. Oh, well, I don't know. Allah, I don't understand.
I'm just asking you.
Levites.
That don't mean nothing because they don't look at this marriage.
For how long does for a sister, when we talk about like a proposal, like a sister proposes, like brother proposes to the sister, she accepts it, or she rejects it, right?
All the questions you got. You got a whole lot of people.
Sisters, can y'all keep it down, please? Just talking a little
That's
crazy.
what you said.
What I said, that's what it was. So what's the issue? Is it permissible?
Yes.
Yes. Sure. Islam, the deen of Islam supersedes anything else when it comes to marriage and stuff like that.
So once you marry under Islamic law, it doesn't matter what.
Yeah. All right, so sister says, what's the proof of her showing her hair? The question should be, what's the proof for her not being able to show her hair? When a person, there are numerous ahadith that talks about what a man can see from a woman getting married. From them, a man can see her head, face, head, hands, feet, that which her muharram can see. And some of them specifically mention muharram. Muharram are the mahram in her family that are men. So let's say, for example, your brother, your uncle, etc., etc. They can see you without your hijab on. Likewise, a person that is interested in marrying you. However, keep in mind that this is a woman's choice. You don't have to. You're not comfortable with it, then you don't have to. In each society, in each culture, is something different. So, for example, in Saudi Arabia, if a woman were to get married, obviously the man would go through the wali, and this is the way it's done over there. The man will go through the wali. The wali will set up a dinner at his house. The man that wants to get married, he will show up at the house, and the woman that he wants to marry, she will come out with her regular clothes on, hair done, everything done, serving them food. And that would be their opportunity for him to see her, whether or not he's interested in marriage. This is the way it's done in Muslim countries, for the most part. And Allah knows best. Like I said, this is a choice that women have. It's not like, oh, you're forced to do this, you're forced to do that. Well, there. Mentioned in class last week. A student mentioned in class talking about Shadid, and then you said that Ali Davis, your companion, and you agree with Shadid does. لا بس we'll come back to that before class is over. If a man is married and the woman doesn't know if he divorced his fourth wife. If a man is married and the woman doesn't know if he divorced his fourth wife, I don't understand what that means. If a man is married and the woman doesn't know if he divorced his fourth wife.
So he has 4 wives, and he's trying to get married to another one.
He told her, must have told her that the next fourth one is gone.
Yeah, I don't want to make stuff up. That's not really clear. If a sister asks for a divorce, how long is the waiting period? Like, you mean the khula? If a sister wants out of a marriage, well, there's a whole chapter that talks about that. But in general, there are 2 positions with regards to a woman and her khula her woman and her iddah from a khula. Majority of the ulama, they hold the position that a woman has 3 menstrual periods. This is the position of the majority of the salaf. A woman, when she requests a khula, that her iddah period is thalathatul quru, 3 menstrual cycles. There's also a position that is prevalent here, is that a woman, she has a menstrual cycle that is 1 month. A 1 month menstrual cycle. And when we get to that chapter, we'll deal with that, inshallah ta'ala. I should have stopped this class earlier. Oh no? There are some that say that the khula is 3 menstrual cycles as mentioned in there. But Imam Malik, Muwatta, this was the view of Ibn Umar, Ibn Shihab. What is your view? I don't have a view. The question is, there are some that say the iddah for khul'ah is 3 menstrual cycles as mentioned in the Muwatta Imam Malik. This is the view of Ibn Umar, Ibn Shihab, and Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib. What is your view on this? I agree with this. This is the position of the majority of the Salaf. This is the position of the majority of the Salaf. The one that actually holds that is only one Haydatun Wahida. This is the position of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, I believe. But this position here that was mentioned in the Muwatta Imam Malik, this is the majority position, and Allah knows best. I don't have a position on this. Me personally, I'm not a person I'm nobody to have a position anyway. Generally speaking, people are free. Whatever position people generally know and move with, then that's, when I first got back here to America, I was on this hard. 3 menstrual cycles, and there was a couple in front of me. And the sister said, you know, I got a khula from him a month ago, and now she's looking. I'm like, oh, sis, pump the brakes. You still got, both of them were looking at me like I was crazy. So what do you mean? I said, so I gave them all this. And then I guess they was like, see, I knew he was off it. He's off it, right? So then, after that, she came back and showed me, I think it was a statement of Sheikh bin Baz and Shaykh al-Islam, and that they had the position that it was 1 month, 1 menstrual cycle. I said, okay, so I showed them, well, the majority of the Salaf, majority of them hold the position that is 3 menstrual cycles. This is the majority. Now, as one of our mashayikh would always tell us when we were in school, he would always say, you have to be cautious. You have to be cautious against going against the majority. We're not talking about 1 or 2 people, we're talking about majority of the Salaf. This is a position that they had majority. They start mentioning names. Sahaba, students of the Sahaba, students of the students. And it's like, you got 2 people, 3 people holding this position, and the majority of the Salaf holding that position. So, and this is one of the judges would always tell us, you have to be cautious against going against the majority. It doesn't mean that you're wrong for going, if you go against the majority, you're wrong, because both positions are respectable positions from the Salaf. Are there any proof against getting a civil marriage? There's no proof against getting a civil marriage. There's nothing wrong with it. If a person chooses to do so, he can. If a person doesn't choose to do so, then they don't have to. If a sister has to learn, we talk about that. Khalas? Any other questions from the brothers?
Yeah, I heard you mumble the situation with Shadeed Muhammad.
Sure.
This situation constantly comes up.
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
The situation, a brother mentioned me in a lecture. He said the brother Hassan Somali mentioned me in a lecture last week. If anybody, we did a lecture a couple months ago called Stop the Fitna. We did a lecture a couple months ago called Stop the Fitna, right? Everything you need to know about these brothers is on there, right? With regards to Shadeed Muhammad, Shadeed is a grown man, and I don't know why this brother keeps linking me to people, right? There's no, Shadeed's gonna do what he wants to do, say what he wants to say. Some things he says that I totally disagree with, some things I may agree with. But nobody should link me. If anything, why don't you link me to Saeed? We got this whole center here. This has been my man for freaking, this has been my man since we was, since high school. Link me to him. Why you don't link me to Saeed? I've known him before I was even Muslim.
Yeah, the perception is he's flying tandem with you.
Yeah, well, they gotta do that. Listen, when you run out of content, when you can't teach and you're running out of content, you always gotta mention names and mention people. That's what you gotta do. You gotta talk about people. You gotta link something. I know Shadeed just like you know Shadeed. Some things he say I agree with, some things I disagree with.
Some things he says totally out of pocket.
If it's totally, I don't listen to his stuff. If someone brings me something, if you only knew over the years, I've known Shadeed and other brothers. If you were to ask him if he did something wrong, mistake, what brother out of all the students here that would come to him the most, he probably would say my name. Right? So what I'm saying is, I'm not going to follow him in everything that he does. I'm not going to do that. I don't listen to no one lectures. I'm not going to sit back, oh, Shadeed said this, he said that, let me call him on the phone. I'm not doing that. And I don't see how Hassan Somali does it. If you're teaching and educating the people, how do you got time to follow Shadeed? Seriously. How do you got time to do that? How do you got time? I don't got time. I don't worry about Shadeed. He's a grown man. He's a grown man, 40-something years old. I'm not following him. I don't follow him. I don't listen to his lectures. If stuff that he says is wrong, it's wrong. It's clear. If stuff that he says is okay, it's okay. But the problem is, don't keep linking me to another man. He's a grown man. I'm a grown man. I stand on my own. He stands on his own. You know what I'm saying? Anything else? No, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of Hassan Somali said this. Get out of here with that.
The issue is that the understanding of who was a Salafi.
The understanding of who was a Salafi?
That's the thing. That's the whole
So
thing.
the problem is, here's the thing. Go to Hassan Somali and have him teach the people what being a Salafi is. Have him teach that. Huh? The problem is, when you have a man, and it's unfortunate, man, you gotta study. If you don't study Islam, you can't be talking about this stuff. At any event, and we're gonna stop with that, inshallah. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.